For decades, gross domestic product, or GDP, has reigned supreme as the primary indicator of a nation's progress. It's the number that headlines news reports, shapes government policy, and often serves as the yardstick by which countries compare themselves to one another. When GDP rises, it's typically celebrated as a sign that things are moving in the right direction, that prosperity is on the horizon, and that the nation is thriving. Like a measuring stick for economies, GDP tallies up the total value of goods and services produced within a country's borders. It's a straightforward calculation, adding up everything from the cars rolling off assembly lines to the groceries filling supermarket shelves. This single figure is meant to capture the pulse of economic activity, providing a snapshot of how much a nation is producing and consuming. A rising GDP has signaled economic growth, often interpreted as a sign of national well-being and prosperity. It's become synonymous with progress, suggesting that more production and consumption automatically translate to better lives for everyone. Politicians tout GDP growth as evidence of successful leadership, and businesses use it to gauge market potential. Governments and policymakers have relied heavily on GDP figures to guide their decisions, aiming to boost this economic indicator. Budgets are crafted, policies are shaped, and international rankings are determined, all with GDP as a central focus. The assumption is that a higher GDP means a healthier, happier society. However, a growing chorus of voices is questioning the adequacy of GDP as a sole measure of progress. Economists, activists, and everyday citizens alike are beginning to ask, does this number really tell the whole story? Is it possible that by focusing so intently on GDP, we're missing other equally important aspects of what it means to thrive? Can a single number truly encapsulate the complex realities of human well-being? Life is made up of countless experiences, relationships, and challenges. Can all of that really be distilled into one economic statistic? The question is more than academic. It strikes at the heart of how we define success as a society. Critics argue that GDP, while useful in tracking economic output, falls short of capturing the essence of what makes life truly worthwhile. It doesn't account for the quality of our relationships, the health of our communities, or the state of our environment. It ignores whether growth is shared fairly, or if it comes at the expense of others. It's kinda akin to judging a book solely by its number of pages, ignoring the richness of its story and the depth of its characters. Just as a novel's true value lies in its narrative and emotional impact, a nation's progress can't be measured by numbers alone. The most meaningful parts of life, love, purpose, happiness, are often invisible to economic statistics. The limitations of GDP become increasingly apparent when we consider the multifaceted nature of human experience. Our lives are shaped by more than just material wealth. They're influenced by our sense of belonging, our opportunities for growth, and our ability to contribute to something greater than ourselves. GDP doesn't capture the value of unpaid work, like caring for family or volunteering in the community, nor does it reflect the costs of pollution or social inequality. While economic prosperity undoubtedly plays a role in overall well-being, it is by no means the whole story. A country can have a soaring GDP while its citizens struggle with stress, loneliness, or environmental decline. True progress, many argue, should be measured by how well people are actually living, not just how much they are producing or consuming. Factors such as mental and physical health, social connections, a sense of purpose, and environmental quality are equally crucial for a fulfilling and meaningful life. As we rethink what it means to move forward as a society, perhaps it's time to look beyond GDP and consider a more holistic approach to measuring progress, one that values not just economic output, but the true well-being of people and communities. The relentless pursuit of GDP growth can sometimes come at a hidden cost. Industrial expansion, while boosting economic output, might lead to environmental degradation, jeopardizing the well-being of current and future generations. Long working hours, often touted as a sign of economic productivity, can take a toll on mental and physical health, eroding overall well-being. Imagine a country experiencing rapid GDP growth fueled by intensive industrial activity. Factories operate around the clock, churning out consumer goods and boosting the economy. However, this economic boom comes at the expense of clean air and water, as industrial pollution contaminates the environment. Citizens experience a decline in their physical health due to pollution-related illnesses, and their mental well-being suffers from the stress of living in a degraded environment. This scenario highlights the crucial point that GDP growth does not always translate into an improvement in overall well-being. In fact, a narrow focus on GDP can sometimes mask underlying social and environmental problems, creating a misleading picture of a nation's true progress. It is essential to look beyond the economic bottom line and consider the broader impact of our actions on human well-being and the planet we inhabit. In recent years, there has been a growing movement to embrace alternative measures of progress that go beyond the limitations of GDP. For decades, gross domestic product has been the primary yardstick for measuring a country's success, focusing almost exclusively on economic growth and the production of goods and services. However, more and more people are beginning to recognize that GDP alone cannot capture the full picture of what makes life meaningful or societies truly prosperous. These alternative metrics focus on what truly matters for human flourishing, happiness, and well-being. They invite us to consider not just how much wealth is being generated, but how that wealth translates into real improvements in people's lives. Are families able to spend quality time together? Do individuals feel a sense of belonging and connection within their communities? Are people able to pursue their passions and live with dignity? Rather than solely measuring economic output, these approaches assess how people experience their lives, taking into account factors such as their emotions, health, social connections, and sense of purpose. This means looking at the quality of our relationships, the strength of our support networks, and the opportunities we have to grow and contribute. It also means recognizing the importance of mental and physical health, and the role that community, environment, and culture play in shaping our daily experiences. Happiness, in this context, is not merely a fleeting emotion, but a deeper sense of life satisfaction and well-being. It is about feeling at peace with oneself, having a sense of security, and being able to look forward to the future with hope. True happiness is rooted in a sense of belonging, purpose, and the ability to overcome challenges with resilience. It encompasses feelings of joy, contentment, and purpose, as well as the absence of negative emotions such as stress, anxiety, and sadness. When people are able to manage life's difficulties and find meaning in their daily activities, they are more likely to experience lasting happiness. This is why policies that support mental health, work-life balance, and social inclusion are so vital for a thriving society. Well-being, on the other hand, is a broader concept that encompasses not only happiness but also factors such as physical and mental health, social relationships, and a sense of meaning and purpose in life. It includes having access to education, healthcare, and opportunities for personal growth. Well-being is about feeling safe, valued, and empowered to make choices that lead to a fulfilling life, both for ourselves and for those around us. By shifting our focus from solely economic indicators to these more holistic measures, we can gain a more accurate and nuanced understanding of a nation's true progress. This new perspective encourages us to invest in education, healthcare, and community development, recognizing that these are the foundations of a healthy and resilient society. It also challenges us to address inequality and ensure that everyone has the opportunity to thrive, not just a privileged few. Instead of simply asking, how much is being produced? We begin to ask more meaningful questions. How are people feeling? Are their basic needs being met? Do they have the opportunity to lead fulfilling lives? By adopting this new compass for progress, we can build societies that are not only wealthier but also healthier, happier, and more just for everyone. In recent years, pioneering initiatives like the World Happiness Report and the Gross National Happiness Index have emerged as powerful tools for understanding and promoting happiness and well-being on a global scale. These efforts are not just about collecting data, they represent a fundamental shift in how societies define and pursue progress, moving beyond traditional economic indicators to focus on what truly matters to people's lives. The World Happiness Report, published annually by the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, ranks countries based on their citizens' self-reported levels of happiness. The report draws on a wide range of data, including surveys that ask people to evaluate their own lives, and incorporates factors such as social support, income, healthy life expectancy, freedom to make life choices, trust in government and institutions, and generosity within communities. These elements are carefully analyzed to provide a comprehensive picture of well-being across nations. The methodology behind the report is both rigorous and inclusive, ensuring that voices from all walks of life are heard. By comparing countries and regions, the report not only highlights where people are happiest, but also uncovers the underlying reasons for these differences, offering valuable lessons for policymakers and citizens alike. Bhutan, a small Himalayan nation, has long been recognized as a pioneer in this field. Decades ago, Bhutan introduced the concept of gross national happiness, a holistic approach to development that places the well-being of its citizens at the center of national policy. Rather than focusing solely on economic growth, Bhutan's model emphasizes psychological well-being, good governance, environmental sustainability, and the preservation of cultural values. This unique philosophy has inspired other countries to rethink their own measures of success. These initiatives, both global and local, highlight a fundamental shift in how we perceive progress and development. Increasingly, governments, organizations, and communities are recognizing that economic indicators like GDP do not tell the whole story. Instead, they are turning to broader measures that capture the richness and complexity of human experience. True progress, as these reports and indices suggest, is not solely about material wealth or economic output. It is about creating societies where people feel safe, connected, and empowered to pursue meaningful lives. It's about fostering environments where children can play freely, families can spend quality time together, and communities can come together to support one another. By systematically measuring happiness and well-being, researchers and policymakers gain valuable insights into the effectiveness of their policies and programs. This data-driven approach allows for more informed decisions, helping to identify what works and what doesn't in the quest to improve quality of life. It also encourages a culture of accountability and continuous improvement, as governments strive to create conditions that enable human flourishing. The World Happiness Report, for instance, has consistently shown that higher levels of income are correlated with greater happiness, but only up to a certain point. Once basic needs are met and people feel secure, the impact of additional wealth on happiness begins to diminish. Beyond a certain income threshold, accumulating more wealth does not necessarily translate into greater happiness. In fact, the relentless pursuit of material success can sometimes lead to stress, anxiety, and a sense of isolation, especially if it comes at the expense of relationships and personal fulfillment. This finding underscores the importance of other factors, such as strong social connections, a sense of purpose, trust in others, and opportunities for personal growth, in shaping our overall well-being. It reminds us that happiness is a multifaceted experience, influenced by both our circumstances and our relationships with others. As we continue to explore and refine these measures, it becomes clear that building happier societies requires a holistic approach, one that values not just economic prosperity, but also the social, emotional, and cultural dimensions of life.